flight boss, bitch. For sure. You're now listening to the Mind of an Terrence Mill. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now, we're going to do the continuation of Venus and Virgo through the 7th and the 12th house. So, if you got Venus transiting your 7th house right now, then you're going to find yourself loving and appreciating and valuing or trying to compromise more with your relationships or your love life or just your relationships in general. Or 7th house just represents relatability on all levels. Your relationships or how you relate to the external world in some way, shape, or form. So, for the most part, this is what you may try to construct a new schedule around, or, you know what I'm saying, love and appreciate and value or relate to in some way, shape, or form. But your way of going about this may be a little toxic, aka you may be extremely worried or extra analyzing your relationships, or extremely worried or over analyzing how you're coming across to others, how you're relating to others. And therefore, you could jump into procrastinating energy, prejudging energy, or end up creating circumstances where there's a bunch of animosity that's being built amongst you and your relationships on a one-on-one level. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's your partner, your children, or your parents, or your grandparents, or your co-workers, you know what I'm saying, or your associates, everybody that you have, or your pets. Anytime you have a relationship on a one-on-one basis, it jumps into the 7th house in some way, shape, or form. And this may be what you might be worried about on an extra extreme level. So you have to be careful that you don't become toxic, aka, especially if you're in a relationship right now, and you have a partner, you're going to be extra worried about their moves and how they're correlating themselves and how they relate in some way, shape, or form, to the point that you may jump into energies where you start to prejudge. So be careful of that during this particular time, because Venus is between a rock and a hard place. Our love matters is between a rock and a hard place. Our way of expressing it may not be the necessary way or sufficient way that love want to be participated in. Now, 8th house. Now, Venus don't fuck with the 8th house under any circumstance either. So, it fucks. Venus loves the 7th house, but for the most part, by you having Virgo here, you may do this in a toxic way. That's why I always have to put in the negatives. Now, the 8th house, right? With Venus here, you may find yourself loving and appreciating and valuing and relating or trying to compromise with your deep desires, passions, motivations. And here's the thing: this always turns a person into selfishness or manipulating energy when they're not when their goals and intentions is not being met. So they have to utilize others as far as shared value. So Venus doesn't like to be in the 8th house because it leads a person into negative energies, or being more hard on themselves when they're not receiving things from the external world that makes them feel comfortable internally in some way, shape, or form. So for the most part, here's the thing: your way of going about, you may love and appreciate and value all your deep desires and things of that nature, but for the most part, or your passions, but your way of going about doing these things may be a little toxic. You might be in an energy where you might be utilizing your sex towards others, or utilizing what you could do for others, or utilizing certain behind the scenes mechanisms in order to convince another person to move in the way that you're trying to make them move, without you actually discussing that that's what you actually want. I don't know. So, be careful of that, because, love could become very toxic, and then it can backfire to the point that you wish you didn't involve yourself in that kind of circumstance or situation in the first place. So be careful. Now, also, there's no love loss here also. So you're going to be putting a lot of more love onto yourself. And when you're not receiving that same kind of love and a magnitude from others, then you could become self-centered also and sting yourself. So be careful with this kind of energy right now. 9th house, right? Now, with Venus going through the 9th house, you may find yourself loving and appreciating and valuing, relating, or trying to compromise with new forms of education, meanings, reasonings, wisdom, knowledge, broad philosophical points of views of looking at the world, spirituality, and God, and all kind of different circumstances. But here's the thing, right? Your way of going about it may be a little too dry, too practical, too surface level, and things of that nature, to the point that you're willing to argue with everybody. You're willing to throw all your discernment and your emotions and feelings aside for the main purpose of the logical or was written down aspect of whatever that you're trying to do, as far as experience or travel or education wise, or whatever that you're trying to learn, or broad philosophical points of views of looking at the world, spirituality, and God. This may be a circumstance where you may be worried about right now, stress yourself out about right now, and even be more hard on yourself about these things, because Virgo constellation doesn't even like to be in the 9th house. So keep that in mind also. So make sure you're not in a situation where you're over worried about experiences, even if an experience even haven't took place yet. Therefore, you're going to be too smart for your own good, and you may procrastinate or pass up on an opportunity that you needed to experience. So keep that in mind also. But pardon me. But look, check this out. When we talk about the 7th house, I mean the 8th house, right? I mean the 9th house. What I'm talking about. That was a bail. But yeah, when we start to talk about the ninth house, it's all good to love and appreciate and value forms of education, but we can get too far into it to the point that we start to get lost into these things and we get lost into knowledge without no form of wisdom behind it. So be careful of that also, which is that's forms of literature, language, and all kind of other things. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is debilitated in the ninth house. Now, 10th house, let's say you got Venus right now going on in your 10th house because you got the Virgo constellation there. Now, here's the thing. You may find yourself loving and appreciating and valuing and relating to your career, what you're known for, your status, or your popularity level in some way, shape, or form. So this is going to be the area that you feel like you love and appreciate and value and that you relate to. But at the same time, the way you're going about these things may be a little toxic, right? You may try to stress and worry other people out about your status, or make other people try to do things for you, or you try to act bossy in some way, shape, or form because internally you're really just trying to organize something, but your way of going about it, you're putting the pressure onto other individuals, making them feel like you're just being bossy at the moment. So you have to be careful of that also, because you love and appreciate and value your career, your business, but your way of going about it, a lot of times maybe extreme because it seems like it's something that you extra worried about. You extra worried about how people look at you. You extra worried about your career. You extra worried about your business, which that's good because Virgo is good here, and being in the 10th house. So it's always good to worry about our career and our business, and don't be displaying our business out to the world, to everybody, or when it comes to your actual career business. It's good to worry about these things, to get these things constructed in the right way, so you could not worry in the future presence, aka have a vacation day or whatever like that. Everything is dealing with 10th house energies from a spiritual or a physical level. But at the same time, you need to understand that you could dive too far into these things to the point that when you don't receive what you think Venus is about, aka love and appreciation of value and relatability, and a lot of people get lost into just receiving love without giving it as far as a percentage level scale. You know what I'm saying? You can get lost into a situation where you're loving and appreciating and valuing all the wrong things, and the things you're supposed to love and appreciate start to fade away. Quote unquote, the fourth house, 180 degrees angle away from the 10th house, aka your home, family, and close ones. These things will start fading away if you start to participate too much into this Venus and Virgo within your 10th house energy during this particular time. So be careful. But I'm not saying that not to do it. It's good to worry about these things, but know when it's starting to confuse you within your real relationships and the people that help you be sustained, or the things that help you be sustained when you don't have these extra curricular things that deal with your status or your career. 11th house. Now, with Venus in the 11th house, you may find yourself loving and appreciating and value or relating or trying to compromise with your associates or things that you are associated with. As far as jobs, public persona, you are associated with a public persona. A lot of times, a lot of y'all public personas is not how y'all are off the court. It's not how y'all are when y'all at home behind closed doors. So a lot of times, creating a certain persona could get you in a lot of locations and circumstances and situations within your own life to help you flourish and gain public gains and things of that nature, you know what I'm saying, and be able to relate to other individuals, which I'm not saying it in a negative aspect. It's always good to have a public persona about yourself. You never want to look bad to the public. But at the same time, people dive too far into this, and this is a person that's like a blind leading the blind. You know what I'm saying? A person who need others, a person that has to be associated with something, and this is their only form of gratification within the world in some way, shape, or form. So that's going too far in the demonic energy, getting too lost into the light of it. But at the same time, right, with Venus being here, you're going to find yourself loving and appreciating and valuing these things. Just your way of going about it may be a little negative. AKA, you might be in a situation where you might love and appreciate and value what you are associated with or your associates too much. And therefore, you're making them feel like you're worrying about something you don't necessarily need to worry about. So you need to be careful of that too. And then give off a bunch of nervous energy. And then you actually prevent a manifestation from actually manifesting in your life, due to the fact of you worrying and stressing out your associations or your associates too much. You know what I'm saying? That's almost like worrying a manager that you need more hours boards and things of that nature. Like you're stressing it out too much without letting the events take course. Then you have, let's say, Venus in the 12th house. So Venus is exalted here in the 12th house. So for the most part, it puts you into a situation where you could over exhaust yourself when it comes to love and appreciation of value and relatability, and compromising. And in this case, the 12th house with your dreams, illusions, creativity, imagination, fantasies, or illusion or self-delusion. So during this particular time, you can appreciate a self-sabotaging energy. So be careful of that and think that is justified due to the fact of you manifesting actual examples outside of you via people, places, and things. So be careful of that. So your way of going about loving and appreciating and valuing your dream, you may be toxic to other people to force them to support your dream in some way, shape, or form. So make sure you don't dive too much into that negative energy. that we getting ready to get into 10 minutes. But for the most part, you're gonna love and appreciate your dream. Just make sure you don't do it in a toxic way, aka force others to worry about your dream in some magnitude in some situation, just for them to participate. Flight boss, bitch, love y'all.